Hi, and welcome back to Beyond the Monsters. Today we have Charles back. So excited for this. This is your part two.
This is my part two.
Yes. Long time coming, right?
It has been. I've been very anxious about finishing it up, actually.
Yes.
So
Okay.
yeah, I was there 55 days, which was actually a long time for them, right? So
And this is at the ranch.
yes, the
Okay.
ranch in Nunley, Tennessee, little
Okay.
bitty town. Um, and when I was leaving the ranch, my therapist brought me up, and he gave me some of the best advice that I ever received in recovery. And I talked about how I wanted to be selfish, and he said, "Not today." And I ended up going to a meeting that night where I met my now still sponsor, right? And I still did not have any idea about what they were going to charge me with, or I really was oblivious and almost just dumb to the fact of I will be honest about this in this thing when I say that I thought my money would I would skate, right?
Okay. Right.
Like I really did. It's like,
Like
okay,
get a
look,
badass attorney,
I and
whatever.
I
And
did that. I didn't
yeah.
hire, and this is me, and this still is me, right? Like even in my hobbies that I have today, this is still very. So I didn't just hire one badass attorney. I hired two of the best attorneys,
Right.
right? And thought, okay, well, I'm going OJ on this, right? Like I'll skate on this, right?
Right.
And I did. It's like I'd never been in trouble with the law,
Right.
really, right? Like I'd always been a good citizen, a supporter of the law, like the whole nine yards. And I really thought, okay, this isn't going to be that big of a deal, right? And so I didn't understand any of it. And I was for the very beginning of my recovery, the first few months, like all I wanted was my family back,
Right.
right? Like I wanted her to see the error of her ways and me see the error of my ways, and we're going to grow from this, and we're still going
Mm-hmm.
to be this cohesive, perfect American family. And I didn't understand what was going on. I knew enough about the legal system from growing up the way that I did
Mm-hmm.
that, okay, look, I need to do this and this and this, and I need to listen to my lawyers. And so I knew that going to AA and doing these things was going to be important. So I did. And I I started going I went when it came to recovery, because the other thing that was important in my journey of recovery is that because of the protection orders that were in place, I couldn't go into the office and work.
Right. 'Cause you work together too. You guys
Yeah,
own the company
absolutely.
together.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I hired her, and she was absolutely fantastic at the day-to-day minutia of running a company.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't, never have been, still am not, right? I'm a big
Right.
picture guy, right? Like I can get right, like that's my strong suit. But because of I couldn't go in, right? So, but they still had to pay me.
And you probably couldn't contact her in any way,
No way.
anything during
Like
this.
the protection orders were in place that it was an absolute no contact
Okay.
in any way. I couldn't text, write, call, snail mail, nothing.
Right.
Right. And that was the same for my kids and the same for my in-laws. There was no contact, none. And even that I didn't understand. Right. I remember struggling with this in the beginning, not understanding how they could just take somebody's kids away.
Right.
Right. Like I had been in these kids' lives every day for 13 and 16 years. Right.
Right.
And all of a sudden they were just gone. And I didn't understand that. I was like, how can they do this to me? Like, how,
Right.
like they don't have that right. They can't do that
Sure.
because I didn't know anything about protection orders.
Right.
Right? Like,
Right.
like I didn't understand. Like,
Right.
so you know, my lawyers very quickly made it a point to tell me that if I violate, like they were going to drag my happy ass to jail, and I would not get out. So that the fear of that and not understanding really what was going on, and not being able to go into my company, I I treated recovery and my mental health like it was my job, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
was like I wasn't able to work. So if I was awake, I was treating myself from a recovery standpoint, either mental health recovery or substance abuse recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to an ungodly amount of meetings, right?
Okay.
I purposely put myself in a situation where I didn't have a lot of the creature comforts, right? I purposely lived well below my means because I didn't want that. I all I wanted was sort of that, when Rocky goes to Russia approach almost where he's like lifting bolt. Like
Right.
I needed that, right? I needed to
Mm-hmm.
kind of go back to the grassroots sort of thing. And I literally lived in a little apartment with a blow up mattress, a shitty couch, and a laptop, and that's all I had for like 9 months. That was
Wow.
it. And if I was awake, I was either in an in person meeting, or I was doing a Zoom meeting, or I was listening to TED Talks, or I was
Mm-hmm.
actually in some level of therapy.
At that point, was your main goal like, I got to get my family back? This is all going to work out if I do these
Uh,
things and get better. And
yeah,
okay.
100%.
Right.
Right. I wanted my family back. Right. I had a beautiful like car is beautiful. Right. Like she
Mm-hmm.
really is,
Right.
and I just wanted my family back. I still had this idea that because of the way I grew up, I needed this picturesque family. Like I was obsessed with it.
Right.
Right. A husband, a wife, and two kids, sort of the
Mm-hmm.
architect, or if you will, of what a family should look like in America. Right.
Right.
It's silly now. I get it. But at the time, so I knew that I knew I was done, right? When I mentioned the seizure, um, that was my moment. When I
Okay.
had that seizure, that was my moment of like, I'm just done,
Right.
right? I'm done. I have allowed myself to get so physically and mentally addicted to something that it broke me,
Right.
right? So I, I wanted my family back, but I also knew that if this was going to work, that I needed to address my childhood trauma.
Okay.
Right? There was a darkness in me that only alcohol and drugs could fill, and I knew that that darkness came from my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I needed to work on that. So I knew I needed to get legs from a sobriety standpoint. I needed to learn how recovery worked and sobriety worked and AA worked. So I dove headfirst into that. What anybody, what people suggested, 90% of the time I did, right?
Okay.
Like get a sponsor. Absolutely. Call your sponsor every day, 100%, right?
Right.
Go to meetings every day. I'm going to go to 4 meetings every day,
Right.
right? Um, so that was the approach that I took, and I'm glad that I took it because I needed it. But I did a lot of therapy too. I did EMDR, I did talk therapy, I tried it all. Right?
Okay. Good.
Some were more beneficial than others. Right? I didn't particularly find EMDR very beneficial to me. I honestly I found it kind of silly.
Okay.
However, there are people in recovery that find it
Right. They
extremely
do.
so I'm not
Yeah.
knocking it. Try if you're out there,
Mm-hmm.
try it.
Right.
Like that was
It's
my
different for everyone.
well, my
Yeah.
approach is what harm like okay, you do a few sessions and it doesn't work. At
Right.
least you tried because there's
Sure.
something to be said about the therapeutic value of just trying something,
Yep.
right? It's like you're taking your mental health seriously by just going and trying something different, right?
Yep.
Like it's not like going to an an AA cookout or party. Like 4 years of who the hell wants to do that?
Right, right.
But now that is my life and I
Mhm.
love it, right? I
Right.
love these people, right? So I that was my approach. That like and I did it. I didn't half ass anything in early recovery. I like one meeting a day, absolutely not. Like I know the level of alcoholic and drug addict that I am. I know the level of my mental health issues and my depression. I'm not your run of the mill drunk. Like I need
Need it all.
all of
Yeah,
recovery and
right.
then some. So I I dove headfirst into it. I started actually working the steps, and there's a couple of steps inside of recovery, particularly the fourth and fifth step, where you actually put pen to paper. And the fourth step is that we write an inventory, right? And we write an inventory of the people that we've hurt, the people that have hurt us. There's a sex inventory and there's a fear inventory, right? And
Mhm.
you put pen to paper, and the fifth step is that you tell another human being, the wrongs that you have done, right? The people that
Right.
you have hurt, et cetera, et cetera. And you don't hold anything back, right?
Mhm.
Now, there's a lot of people inside of recovery that do these steps, these particularly these two steps, and they, oh my God, it was just so therapeutic, and whew, such a weight was lifted off of me. I didn't get that from those two steps, right? I didn't feel like
Right.
I was skating on glass when I got done with it.
Right.
For me, it was a rite of passage. These guys that have 10 years, 20 years, 35 years, 43 years, right?
Mhm.
They all did it.
Right.
They all did it. All right. If they did it and
It's
it
a
worked
stepping
for,
stone in the
right.
beginning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I did it and I was glad that I did it. Right.
Now, at this point, do you know what you're charged with? Are you having
Not yet.
still
Not
don't
yet.
know? Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. So, um, and I probably got a little ahead of myself with the fourth and fifth step, but not by much. So I went to court, and at that time, because they changed my charges at some point, but at the beginning, they charged me with 3 aggravated assaults with a deadly weapon,
Oof.
which is bad,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, that's
Right.
just about as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
And I didn't even understand that. I was like, okay, like, oh my God, I'm charged with a felony, really? Like, my big thing was that I was charged with a felony. Like, I didn't understand the degrees of felonies,
Right.
right? I was like, God, like, because I was so proud of growing up the way that I did and not having felonies. I was
Mhm.
so proud of that.
Right.
Right. And then now all of a sudden I'm 46 years old and I'm being charged with a felony. It's like, are you kidding me? I was
Did you
embarrassed.
remember the incident?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. There's moments in it where it's a little gray or a little dark, but yeah, I remember it. I still remember it. Right. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Um, but so they charged me with that, and I didn't understand it. And I went in and met with my lawyers, and that's when they were like, you you've got to understand how serious this is. Like, you very well are going to go to prison, right?
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, if we can just get you jail time, we're considering that a win. And I was like,
Wow.
what? And they're like, absolutely. Like, they were hoping to get me a year in jail and not 2 or 3 or 6 in prison. And I was
Oh.
like, this can't be. Are you? That's when it was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Like, are you serious?
Did that hit you hard, like, and throw you into like a deeper depression or anything? Just thinking of what that reality could be?
Honestly, no,
No. Okay.
it really didn't. It made me, as odd as it sounds, it made me sort of almost double down on what I was already doing.
Good.
Right? It's like, if I'm like, look, I have fucked up bad.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is my penance, then that is my penance, right? And
Right.
but I'm not going into prison a drunk, right? Like I'm going to at least go into prison sober, right?
Right.
And I promised myself that regardless of what the outcome was going to be, that I was going to grow and learn from this the best that I could, right?
Right.
So I did. That was my approach. I took helping other people in the program very seriously, as they call it, service work, right?
Mhm.
Like I took that very seriously. I took actually working an actual program very seriously, getting to know people inside of the program. I took very seriously. I I didn't I don't know that at any point there was a real fear of going to prison.
Mm.
Like as weird as that sounds, like I knew it was a possibility,
Right.
but it wasn't. I was just like, okay, like, right, because you listen to the first half of this, and you listen to the life I grew up in and the things that I did.
Yeah.
I've hurt a lot of people along the way.
Right.
I've done a lot of bad, right? Like I don't know. I mean, thousands, if not tens of thousands, of drinking and drivings and not getting caught,
Right.
right? So it's like, okay, universe, right? Like
Yeah.
I get it.
Like I'll just deal and get through
Well,
it.
so I needed, part of recovery is coming to coming to grips almost with some level of higher power, right? Like part of that is regardless if you're an atheist or a Buddhist or a Jewish or it doesn't matter, right? Like your dance with a higher power either what like it like either
Mhm.
way, right? So I was an atheist. I started identifying at a young age as an atheist. And I knew that I needed to figure out what that whole higher power thing is. It really is important in recovery, right? It's
Mhm.
like it really is. There's this, this sort of conflict, if you will, about what the higher power thing is. And for me, earlier on, um, there's like what they call steps 2 and 3, and those are your higher power steps. We came to believe that a higher power would restore us to sanity, and then step 3 is that we turned our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him, right? And it's like,
Yes.
and if you're struggling with the whole God thing, and you come in and you see those, and they're like, ugh, these religious nut
Right.
jobs, right?
Right.
Look, I was an atheist, right? I was. And
Mhm.
in my head, I still identify as an atheist, right? I don't go around the rooms preaching it, right? I'll bring it up if it's important to the topic. But what I did in the beginning was I kept it extremely simple. That whole KISS thing, right? Keep it simple, stupid,
Right.
right?
Right.
I'm very stupid. Right? Like you don't get here without having some degree of stupidity, right?
Right. Right.
So I took that approach very seriously, right? So for me, I realized early on that any two alcoholics is a power greater than myself, right? There we go. That's it,
Right.
right? So any room that I walked in, there was my higher power, right? There were I defined it as this earlier on. The collective energy of a bunch of drunks and addicts just wanting to get a little bit better is a power greater than myself. And that is what I latched onto.
Okay.
And it worked, right? Because it's true.
Mhm.
It's very true, right? Now, my relationship with a higher power has evolved since then, but there were things in 2022 that happened, and I don't have the vernacular to find another word other than godly. There were just things that happened in 2022 that were godly. That when you never really understand the universe's or God's work when you're in it, right? You
Right.
never do. It's always when you're on the other side of it, you're like, there it
Mhm.
was.
Yeah.
There he was, right? There it was. There he was. There she was,
Right.
whatever. right? And there were things that happened, right? And
Mhm.
I'll give you some for examples, right? My kids. I was not able to write or talk to my kids for 11 months.
Oh, wow.
It broke me. It killed me. My daughter, Peanut, she's my she's my world, right? She's actually at my house right now. Um, my son, I call him Blue, right, from another Will Ferrell movie, right? My boy, remember the
That's
old,
our dog's name.
yeah,
One of our Frenchies,
yeah,
Blue from that,
yeah,
yeah.
like you're my boy, Blue. So I
Yeah.
just started calling him Blue, right? I have a I, but that was a God thing
Mhm.
because here's the deal: I was so sick and from withdrawing from years and years, decades of drug abuse and alcohol abuse
Mhm.
that I would have, if they were in my life during that whole first year, I would have manipulated them to manipulate her,
Right.
right?
For sure.
I would have drove my kids further away from me, right? And that was a God thing. I didn't see it when I was in it,
Of course not, right.
but after, right? And I signed the divorce papers and I ended up with 50% custody of my kids, right? Like, I mean, so
Okay.
so you we go through this thing and I went through what I did and there were and I'm able to look back. I get a year sober and I'm able to look back at that year and be like, man, wow, wow, oh my God, he was there,
Mhm.
right? So how can an atheist get right with the universe, get right with God or a higher power if you can't come through something like that and not see something greater than yourself at work there, right?
Right.
Right? Like so I around and and I probably should actually even talk about the tattoos. I think
Okay.
that's
Go
important
ahead.
because my journey with so every tattoo that you see on me, everyone, and I'm blasted, right? Um, they're all less than 2.5 years old. Every one of them.
Really?
Yes, every one of them. It was look, and I'm going to say this right now to the audience. Look, I would not recommend this for everyone. Don't what I'm about to tell you. Probably refrain from doing. Right? And so I I knew I wanted to get at least one tattoo because everybody that comes in early recovery is like, oh, I gotta, I'm gonna get my sobriety date tattooed on me, or I'm gonna do
Right.
something. Well,
So true.
I
Yeah.
knew that was bad luck. Like I'm not gonna do that shit. So, what I did was, I started actually when I was in rehab. I realized something was wrong with me, right? Like I I honestly thought that I had what they call wet brain, or I knew something was wrong with me. My ability to think was not on par. I wasn't able to do simple math. My reading was off. My spelling, like I wasn't like I was. I had literally drank myself stupid, and I'm not funny. Yes, a little.
Right.
Truth, absolutely. And
This is
that
after you detoxed in rehab and
yeah.
okay.
All right. So I took a lot of Xanax, and I'm telling you right now that a withdrawal perspective and rehab perspective, that Xanax was far worse than alcohol,
Mhm.
far worse than alcohol, and I really thought I had damaged myself. Right. And you want to talk, okay, so no, the legal didn't scare me, right? So
Right.
much, a little,
As this.
not being able, because okay, look, I don't want to sound braggadocious, but I've always thought myself a slightly above average
Sure.
intelligence, right? Right? That scared me. That scared me more than anything else, was that I just wasn't going to be mentally the same,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So what I did was I found out that through art and drawing and writing, that my cognitive abilities were slowly coming back, right? So I started drawing and writing obsessively, right? And I keep those things under lock and key, because if you want to see the journal of if you want to see the journal of insanity,
Right.
those first few months of my writing, wow, wow.
So you went back and you've read
Oh,
them
I
since, yeah.
still look at them every once in a while.
Okay.
Like it is the diary of a madman, right? Like it is. I was insane. I really was.
Right.
And but drawing and researching tattoos and the history of tattoos and what tattoos meant and what the colors in tattoos meant and all of that, it gave me an outlet that wasn't recovery based, that wasn't mental health recovery based. It was just something to grow cognitively.
Mm-hmm.
And it allowed me an outlet of normalcy, if you will.
Right.
So I would research and draw these tattoos and design these tattoos and put them together and then find artists in and around the Nashville area to do them, right?
So you designed most of those?
Almost all of them.
Wow.
Almost all of them were collaborations
Yeah.
that I put together, right? Like I wanted my tattoos to tell a story, and they did, and they do, right? So the very first one I got was actually this stopwatch in the semicolon, right? And it's set at 5:45, right?
Mhm.
Right, because that's the time I woke up,
Right.
right? So I got that, and then I realized that there was just something that I found joy in it actually when I got tattooed, and I was like, oh man, so now I want this one, right? And then the second one I got was from a young lady named Dea, fantastic artist. She's great. It says right here, infinite sadness. It's a compass, and the reason that I got a compass was because my wife had an ex-wife had a strange fascination with maps and compasses and etc. So I got that sort of as the family because we used to have maps and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I started drawing and designing tattoos and getting them done. I mean, and it was insane. I was getting 2, 3, 4 tattoos a week, right? Like, yeah, it was insane. Like I said,
Yeah.
I don't half-ass anything,
Right.
right? Like even the kind of the joking about the creme brulee, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know where it's coming from, but I can't get enough of the
Right.
shit.
And it's
But
always just excessive. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing is, I'm not using drugs and alcohol today, so But um, so anyway, so yeah, so I started getting tattooed, and I really enjoyed the process. I loved the drawing and designing, and it made my brain work from a creative perspective, and the writing and the outlet and all of that sort of jazz. And you know, it's part of my sober journey.
Mhm.
Again, I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, but it was part of mine, and I don't regret them. Like I really don't. Like every one of them tells a story. Like
Right.
every one of them, right? Like the cherries are a symbol of change, but I didn't want just normal cherries, so I got these skulls. They're skulls colored
Yeah.
like cherries, and they're like so. But like snakes are a symbol of change, like the barbed wire. If you research the history of like the barbed wire tattoos, it's always a symbol of like stepping over something difficult.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
So anyway, that's part of my sort of my sober journey. But and the 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 yellow jackets. So the yellow jackets come at when I was about maybe 7, 8 months, somewhere around in there, sober, when I realized like we talk about a psychic change in AA and we talk about a psychic change in recovery, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you do the deal, I absolutely truly believe that if you do the deal and you work the steps and you actually apply yourself 100% to the program, somewhere along the way, you will have a psychic change.
Mm-hmm.
You will have, and the psychic change is this: I don't, I don't want to use drugs and alcohol anymore. right? Like,
Right.
oh my God, wow, really? Me? So,
To actually think that thought rather than I really do want to use, but I'm not going to.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the psyche
Yeah.
change, right? Like, oh my God. So for me, I say it like this: right around 7 or 8 months, what really happened was I started to fall in love with myself again, right? Right? Like all of the good that Charlie had in him, all of the potential that everybody always said they seen, and the good that I knew, we all have that goodness. It's like I know it's
Right.
there. Why? You know, right around 7 or 8 months was when it was like, oh shit, I see it, right? And I
There I am.
started to fall in love with myself, and I started to love the Charlie that I was turning into, right? And the Yellow Jackets are a totem, and kind of funny, right? So my ex-wife is highly allergic to Yellow Jackets.
Oh, jeez.
So what I realized was that I didn't want my family back, right? I didn't like I I had acknowledged my part in things.
Mm-hmm.
I had taken ownership of the things that I had done in that
Right.
relationship, right? Um, and I wasn't. I was not a great husband, like I wasn't. Like I just wasn't.
Right.
You can't drink the way I did every day and claim to be a good husband. You just can't.
Right.
So right around 7 or 8 months, I realized that I didn't want my family back, or what I thought this sort of picturesque family should look. I didn't want that back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my biggest fear right around that time was that she would recognize the change and want me back, right?
Mm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
was sort of this totem, right, of that um, that I just didn't want that, and that I knew also I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but I knew that it was going to be okay, right? Like I didn't understand, but I
Right.
knew at the end of the day it was going to be okay, and I didn't know what that looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Was me going to prison going to be what's right with the universe, right? But I was oddly
Sure.
okay with that, right? But there used to be this guy. He died of cancer, maybe about a year ago. His name was Lee. He was in the rooms. Um, and he would wait for all of us newcomers to just sit and cry, bitch, complain, call our ex-wives whores and whatever else. And he would listen to that. And
Right.
then as soon as we were done, he would chime up, and he'd always say things, well, maybe you should stop referring to your ex-wife as a whore,
Right.
and
Right.
and we're like, fuck you. Like,
Yeah. Right.
but he would one of the things Lee would always say, and it used to just upset me, and there had never been more truer words spoken, and now I actually say it, but he would always say, it's all going to work out the way that it's supposed to. And I just remember being early on and going, what the fuck does that
Right.
mean? Right?
Yeah.
What if me in a box under a bridge is the way
Right.
it's supposed to be? Right? And then the thing is, there's a Mark Twain quote, right? And it's something, and I'm going to butcher it, I'm sure, but it's something along the lines of, I've lived through the worst things in my life, some of which came true.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow,
Yeah.
right? Because we as people can catastrophize, right? It's like, oh my
Absolutely.
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, early recovery for me it wasn't easy. It was hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, I say when I share my story, you know, every day of my life for 46 years, every single day of my life involved in one form or another drugs or alcohol. I was born into it,
Right.
right? Every single day, right? And it's like I was done, like I was just done. I just, and like I said, I got about 9 months, and I really just started to love who I was, right? And at 9 months, I know they're like, oh, it's just one day at a time.
Right.
I, there are things inside of AA that drive me crazy. That still drives me crazy.
Right.
But at 9 months, it's like, okay, I know I'm going to get a year. Right. And then they always say, don't say that, but I knew,
Mhm.
like I knew it's like, I may relapse at 366 days, but I'm getting a
Right.
year.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But so, that first year it was hard. It was really hard. I had to, one of the most heartbreaking things, let me back up a little bit. So I went to court. They charged me with 3 aggravated assaults with a deadly weapon. I went back to the next court date, which I don't know the names, right? Preliminary. I don't know which is what.
Right.
So the second court date that I went to, um, th- my lawyers came, that were there, they're like, well, we're moving upstairs. And I'm like, what is that? And they're like, well, that's where the bad, like the felonies go, right? Like, it's like upstairs, like, all
Mhm.
right. So, I do that. And then, they come to me and they're like, well, the DA is going to charge you with 2 extra aggravated assaults. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how the hell can she do that? And they're like, well, she's going to charge you an aggravated assault for everybody that was in the house that day.
The in-laws too.
Yeah.
Oh,
So they charged me originally for my kids and the wife.
right.
And then they stuck the other 2 on me. And then it was like, oh, damn.
Did panic set in a little bit then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, oh, damn. Right. Like, oh, man. Now, why would she be doing that? Right.
Right.
Why would she be doing that? And even that has a God thing in it. Right. Like, it's hard to see it when you're in it.
Mhm.
But now that I'm through it, and so I don't know why she did it. I still don't understand why she did it, but um, I realized that it wasn't going to change anything. Like, I'm still going to do the deal. I'm still going to go. I still want recovery, right?
Mhm.
Like, I'm still willing to accept the outcome regardless of what it is,
Right.
right? And um, I things around 9 months started to I like there was all of a sudden there were finite endings in place, right? Like, this is your trial date. Your divorce mediation is set for this day, right? Oh shit.
Mhm.
Why? Oh,
Yeah.
right, things are coming to an end, like,
Right.
what, like, here we go. What's the outcome going to be here, right?
Yeah.
So um my ex-wife and my in-laws, one of the most heartbreaking things that I had to do was, so they, Cara, which I don't know if I should say her name or not, but either way, but Cara, my ex-wife, was very adamant about me not going to prison.
Okay.
Very adamant about me not going to prison. He's a good father, right? Like, these were things that was being communicated around the legal system, the DA to my lawyers, etc. Right? Like, my lawyers were like, the good news is that your in-laws and your wife are very adamant about you not going to prison. Right? I'm like, okay, that's
Which
good.
you had no idea at this point what they were thinking or
I,
feeling, and
no, I didn't
you have
have,
no contact.
no, not a clue, not
Okay.
a clue. Right? Um, and so that doesn't, like, the fact that they were adamant about it doesn't, it didn't necessarily mean anything, right?
Right.
So what there were just some weird, sort of circumstances that kind of happened around this time. The DA got message through my lawyers that um, basically what she was going to do was offer me a year probation for every year she was going to send me to prison, right? Because she was going to send me to prison, and the family changed her opinion, right? So
Wow.
yeah, so they so they offered me a plea deal, right? And my lawyers were very adamant about, because I wanted to fight it. I still at this point was, I want to fight this. Like, this isn't fair, right?
Right.
Like, I'm watching people come in and out of AA that did far worse than I did and get a
Right.
slap on the wrist. Like, why is it that this is happening to me, right?
Mhm.
And I wanted to fight it. And my lawyers were very adamant about, Charlie, if you take this shit to the jury, you're going to go away for a long fucking time. And we're
Right.
not talking 3 years, 6 years. You're going to go away for probably 10, 15 years. You
Sure.
cannot take this shit to a jury,
Mhm.
right? So it's like, and my sponsor through this whole thing was, whenever I would bitch about the case or bitch about, he was like, what are your lawyers saying? Listen to your lawyers, right? So I did. And the plea deal was this: 6 years probation. It doesn't ever step down. I'm on the strictest form of probation. It never steps down. It's part of the conditions. The other
Mhm.
part of the conditions are that I never talk to my ex-wife in any way, right? Um, that I never drink alcohol. There are conditions in there that, and um, I accepted the plea deal. I was told to accept the plea deal. I
Mhm.
accepted the plea deal, right? Like, so I,
Well, sure, you're avoiding prison, which is
here's the thing though. One of the most heartbreaking things about all of this, and it was so sad. Like, it was so sad for everybody, was I had already signed the plea deal, but we still had to do the song and the dance, right? So I signed the plea deal, but we still had to go in front of the
judge
judge.
and right.
Everybody had to tell, like, there were still witnesses in the box, and everybody had to be sworn in, and
Which the
like,
judge can do whatever they want.
well, the judge couldn't redact anything, right?
Oh, real
So only
okay.
thing that the judge could do was see if I was eligible for a diversion, right? So at the
Okay.
end of it all, if the felonies would be wiped off my record, right? If I do my 6 years and I'm good and all of that
Yeah.
at the end of it, right? So that's what the judge was deciding. But he couldn't redact what I'd already signed. I'd
Oh,
already
good.
signed it,
Okay.
accepted it, right? And
Okay.
there are parts of this I'm leaving out that I'm going to get to in a second. That, when I talk about the God being and all of this kind of
Mhm.
madness, right? Because there was and there is, and there's some funny stories actually along the way. So we had to do this. Cara had to come. Her parents had to come. There was the DA over here, me over here with my lawyers, the judge. Like it. I had to sit there and I had to listen to my in-laws, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my ex-wife, all swear and tell their version of things that happened, right?
Mhm.
And then I had to get up there, which means that I was going to get cross-examined, right? And this DA was a fucking pit bull,
Really.
right? And I found out later on, or at least I think, what hurt me the most was the fact that I went and hired these two high priced lawyers. And she was like, I got these guys.
I'm gonna get him.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
these guys, right?
Mhm.
Like, if it's a battle you want, it's a battle you're gonna get. And she was fucking good. Like, she was
Really.
good. Yeah. I don't have any resentment towards her.
She's doing
I
her
mean, I did
job.
at the
Doing her
time.
job.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
she was good. She really was. But the sadness of it was I had to accept their testimony for what it was, right? Like, it didn't, I didn't believe a lot of it,
Mhm.
but they're entitled to feel the way that they feel, and they're entitled to hurt the way that they want to hurt,
Right.
right? So just because I don't agree with it, or that some of it might not even be 100% truthful, that's their journey,
Right.
right? Like, part of their healing was to look me in the face and tell me the things that they told me in that courtroom.
Mhm.
And they did, right? Like, my mother-in-law legitimately said something along the lines of how um, her trauma is that she feels like I'm hunting her. Like, she'll have nightmares about me hunting her, right? And okay, That's your journey, and I'm sorry. I'm
Right.
sorry. I'm so sorry that I put all of us in this position, right?
Right.
And I really am, and I still am. I'm very much. Um, I hate. You know, there are parts I just hate, and that's one of them. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm living my best life today. I love my life today. You know, that's sad. You know, it's
Yeah.
sad that it's 16 years ended that
That
way.
way.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
but so the judge, the judge during all of this, I mean, he stopped the court and he was like, grabbed the mic and like literally moved it. Sorry about that. Is it going to be in there? But he grabbed, like, he literally grabbed his mic and he moved it to the side and he was like, General, he goes, am I reading this right? And she was like, what's that, Honor, Your Honor? And he was like, I've never seen conditions like this. He was like, is this accurate? And she was like, yes. And he was like, it's a lot of conditions. Like, and still, like, right. So
Right.
even he recognized, like, wow, man, like, right. It's
She
like,
she was trying to get you for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, I
Maybe
don't,
she wanted to set an example,
well, I think that, I
you know,
think that she's
because
seen,
that does
I think
happen.
her competitive edge as a DA came out
Hmm.
when she's seen these two well resumed trial lawyers and right, like
Right.
those two lawyers I hired were two of the best, right?
Right.
Like they were legitimate trial lawyers that were really good. So I think that the competitive edge came out, right?
Right.
And I also think, like, look, this guy needs to go to prison for what he did. But if
Hmm.
he's not going to prison, it's like he's got to pay somehow,
Right.
right? Like his life just can't be a cakewalk,
Right.
right?
Because maybe she was even thinking how you did. You know, you had said, my money will get me out of this. I'll be fine. Whatever. She might have been like, all right, watch this motherfucker. I'm going to get him.
100%.
Like, because he thinks his
A
money can get him
hundred
out of this.
percent.
Yeah.
And here's the
Yeah.
thing. Having went through what I went through, I remember I'd watch trials of famous and famous people, and people had money and be like, man, they really, they got off because they're rich. Like I remember saying, like,
Right.
and then here I am. It's like, okay, well, I'm successful. I can do that, right? And it's like I'm going to skate, right?
Hmm.
So look, here's the thing. So the judge denied me my diversion, right? Like I knew he would. He denied me my diversion. Gavel slammed, right? Okay, I've accepted. Here's the deal, right? Part of my penance, like the other part, is I had to do 30 days in jail,
Okay.
right? I had to do 30 days in jail. And also, the finite situation was that now I knew when my divorce mediation was going to happen, right? So the courts were like, okay, well, you got to do your 30 days. Your Honor, he has his divorce mediation coming up on September, whatever, I don't remember what day it was, like September 19th, I
That would have
think.
been during the jail time.
Yeah, well, no, they were like, we need you to take this into consideration.
Oh,
His
okay.
divorce mediation is on this day.
Okay.
And
So
they're
like
like,
after.
fine. The next day, he turns himself into jail.
Okay.
Right. So I literally went into like an extremely long mediation because we had a lot to divvy up.
Sure.
So extremely long mediation, like I think it was like 13 hours or some crazy crap. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
wow.
insane. It was an insane amount of time.
Yeah.
Literally went home, went to sleep, can't check myself into jail, right? And did the whole 30 days in jail thing. And one of the things about the judge was that he very much acknowledged the fact that I had been doing what I needed to do from an AA perspective and recovery perspective, but he was a little concerned that I'd been a little laxed on the mental health side of things, which I was like, I don't know how much more I could have done.
Right.
Right. But for some reason, he kept dogging on that. Right.
Okay.
Okay. There's a reason. Right. That story's coming up. There is a
Mm-hmm.
reason. Right.
Right.
Like the whole judge thing's kind of but so anyway, I turned myself, I was right around 9-10 months. I turned myself into jail. I was supposed to do 30 days. I did 21.
Okay.
there's a story behind that too. And I did it in the Williamson County Jail down here, and I had an alcohol monitor on my leg when I went into jail, right? And my back from being broken in that seizure was
Right.
still painful. So I had this turtle shell that I was supposed to wear sometimes, right? And my lawyers, actually good advice was that you need to wear that thing when you go in there, right?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, if you say so. And they're like, no, you do. And you can get your doctors to sign that you need a bottom bunk and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay. Well, I get into jail and I have this turtle shell and all of this. And they're just like, well, what the fuck are we supposed to do with this guy? Right? Like,
Right.
and I'm like, oh,
Right.
and they're like, Andy's wearing an alcohol monitor. And so they were just like, I'm like, how do you not know what to do in this situation? Right? Like,
Right.
I guarantee you've had. So
Yeah.
anyway, they were like, well, we're going to, and again, I didn't understand the lingo, right? Like, they're like, well, we're going to stick him in 23-1 until we figure out what to do with him. And I'm like, okay, great. I can get out of this drunk tank. Right. And I remember one of the orderlies, like they said 23-1, and I watched him and he goes, ooh. And I'm like, what? And he goes, man. And I'm like, what? And he's like, dude, that's solitary confinement. And I'm like, ugh. I'm like, okay, well, it's only going to be a few days, right? Like, can't be that big a deal. I was in that motherfucker for 9 days. 9 days. And I'm telling you, I had no human contact. The only human contact I had was when they would slide the food into you. I didn't have a book. I didn't have a pencil.
So you couldn't do anything.
I didn't have anything.
Ooh, that's a lot of time with yourself.
Anything, right?
Yeah.
So my mind, right? I felt the psychosis coming on, right? Like, so day 1, day 2, not too bad, sleep, whatever, right? Day 3, I noticed that I was repeating the 12 steps of AA, and I was repeating the Serenity Prayer, and, and I'm just nonstop doing that, just like, okay, like, then it was like, I'll dissect the steps, like step 1, what does it really mean to me? Like, I was doing anything I could.
Right.
Day 4, 5, 6, I'm literally counting dimples on the cinder blocks.
I was just going to ask, were you looking at the walls?
Yeah. I was doing anything I could to
Right.
stay off. Like, by day 6, 7, I'm pacing like a bear.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like I'm, so anytime I seen,
Did you have a window? Or no, nothing. Really? Okay.
Right. Like, and then I had to, like, to even be able to see a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, anytime a jailer hands in food or whatever, like, I'm like, hey, can I get a book? Just a book, like any book. I don't care. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So they didn't come back.
Nothing. Right. Like, look, and jail's not supposed to be fun.
Right.
It's not. Williamson County takes it to another level. They really do. Right. Like, the sheriff there is a big fan of Joe Aprilio out there in Arizona, and they take sort of similar approaches. It's not supposed to be fun. Right.
Right.
So anyway, day 9, I'm losing my fucking mind. I'm like, I can't do, like, I'm going to 30 days of this. So day 9, all of a sudden, door comes open, jailer standing there. I'm like, what? He's like, grab your bunk, grab your stuff, we're moving you. I'm like, oh, like, casually, just like, oh,
yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
Like,
Let's go.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, we're going to move you to medical separation. And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just you and a bunch of old guys. I'm like, all right, cool. So I get in there and show me my cell. I go in there, I put my stuff down, and all of a sudden I hear, I'll never forget this. Never forget this. All of a sudden I hear, I am the director of the CIA, the acting president of the United States, and the motherfucking king of England. And I'm like, whoa. And he's screaming this. repeatedly. Right? I'm the director of the CIA. I'm the acting president of the United States, and
So
I'm
somebody wasn't taking their meds.
so I'm hearing this, and I'm like, where in the fuck am I? Right? I'm like, I'm afraid to get out of my cell. I've not seen any of them. I don't see their faces. I have no
They put
idea.
you
I'm
in the
just
psych
hearing this
ward.
shit. And all of a sudden, this old man comes walking around the corner, and I didn't think anything about it at the time, but he's got sporks sticking in his little thing right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he starts talking to me, you know, and like all of that, and you know, and he seems somewhat normal. And all of a sudden, like about 3 hours in there, I'm like, fuck this. Like there's phones and everything over here. I haven't talked to anybody on the outside yet. Like I don't give a fuck I'm making a phone call.
Right.
So I go out there and I make a phone call. I call my sponsor,
Mhm.
right? Like, look, I'm alive. I'm okay. And I hang up and I turn around and I look, and they're right. They're all a bunch of old guys, right? And so immediately the fear of like bodily harm went away. But I realized that medical separation in a jail is a fancy term for
The psych ward.
psych ward.
Yes.
They stuck my ass in a psych ward. These guys were these guys were certifiable, right? Like I learned what real mental health.
Mhm.
So come to find out,
They prepped you for 9 days, though.
yeah. So the guy with the sporks had
Right.
killed his own son, and he would dig through the trash to look for sporks. So I nicknamed these guys. It's like I didn't know their real names, didn't care to know their real names, to be honest with you, but I ended up nicknaming them. I called him Mike Check because he would talk into these sporks. Like he would dig through the trash and get all the old sporks, and he would save the sporks, right? And talk into them like a microphone. And he thought, the best I could tell, was that he had a direct connection to God, and he could talk to his son, right, through these sporks, right?
Okay.
And he would go up to a wall, and he would stand as close to the wall as he could, and he would talk. He would talk. You could hear him, like just he mumbled, and he, right, and you could hear and he was having conversations with his dead son,
Right.
right? Okay. I nicknamed the other guy the director, right? Because this guy, he was screaming that all the time, and he
Just
fucking
over and over.
he never fucking slept, right? Like he
Oh,
would
gosh.
scream this shit and you know, but there were the moments too when he had this illusion that he had friends in power, and he would yell at these jailers, like, go down there and check my paperwork. Get me the fuck out of here. My paperwork's been signed. Do you not know who I am? Right?
Mm-hmm.
There was another guy in there. His God-given name was Candy. And he was an old black man from Atlanta, that the homelessness in that man was so ingrained in him that even when he knew he had another meal coming around the corner, he would beg for food.
Oh.
Right? And at night, he was right beside me. I would listen to him cry, and he would, I'm hungry, I'm
Oh.
scared, you know, and he would just do that all night long. Right? So, but the God in all of that was that, one, I grew a real appreciation of what real mental health looked like. But
Mhm.
here's the thing. There was a young man in there, younger than I was by a lot, and he had done something that I had done 10,000 times. He got drunk and high on Xanax, and he ran over and killed his own mother.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. Right? And he was not an impressive man. He was a very meek man, very young, very, right? And he was going to prison, like big prison. But
Yeah.
But I got to talk to the kid. You know, we played an ongoing game of rummy, you know, the entire time I was there, right? And we didn't, you know, it wasn't like 500. Like we kept it going until
Right.
I knew I was getting out. We, you know, so I talked to him about recovery. I talked to him about AA. Like, you know, I would, you know, talk to him about like my journey through it all, and you know, so hopefully that spark,
Yeah.
right, is in there, right? Because he will get out.
Was he mentally with it? at this
The
point?
fact that he had killed his own mother really kind of messed with him.
Sure.
So he was losing his shit like in the normal jail cell. So they just threw his ass in there. Right.
Right.
But like, and that's the thing, right? Because he was a young man.
Because this is jail. He probably, that was like holding. for
Yeah.
him. He had just done it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he hadn't been completely sentenced, but he
Right.
killed his own mother. Right. Like his family had like they didn't want anything to do with the guy.
Of course.
Right.
Right.
So I took it from like he, you know, like even when he gets out of prison, he's still going, like he was young enough to, even when he gets out of prison, he's still going to be a relatively young man.
Right.
Right. So hopefully, you know, right. So that was my jail. Right. And here's the thing. I was sentenced to 30 days, but because they put me in medical separation, and I did not know this, that you're eligible. It's called 2 for 1. So you do 2 days and you get 1 knocked off your thing.
Oh.
So at 21 days, they're like, you're get out of here. So it's like 11 o'clock at night. They like open up the doors and are like, get out of here. I'm like, okay.
You're like, okay, I'm not running.
I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right. So I get out of jail.
Oh.
Divorces happened. The legal is pretty much behind me, right?
Right.
Like it's like now I'm on probation. Like I know everything's pretty much wrapped up, right? Me being able to see my kids, like even that was finite. It's like now I understood that, you know, I have to complete this in order to see my kids.
Right.
So, and that was called BIP. It's called Battered Intervention Program. It's anybody that gets a battery charge or a domestic charge has to complete that program in the state of Tennessee, right? So the teacher, her name is Kelly, right? I love her. She's amazing. I really befriended her in that class of hers. And she knew that I was serious about my recovery. I was accountable for my actions. I was present in her class, right? And she helped me a lot. She allowed me to come in on a Saturday and knock out like 8 classes. So it was supposed to be a 6-month thing.
Right.
Right. And at the end of
6 months till you could even see your kids.
Yes.
Then too.
Right.
Okay.
So she allowed me to come in on a couple of Saturdays and knock out a bunch of classes, which shortened it to like 3 months. So when I was able to see my kids was right at 11 months that I was actually able to see my kids. I had to do it through a psychiatrist, right? Like we had to be introduced again, right? And you know, I was able to take them to dinner, but the psychiatrist had to be in the restaurant.
Really?
Right? Yeah, not near us, but in the restaurant.
Okay.
And like I was just happy to have my kids back.
Sure.
You know, like look, because when they seen me, the last they had seen me, I was 220 pounds. I had a huge beer belly. I had a big Grizzly Adams beard, right? Just looked my worst. Like I was sick the last time they had seen me. And now all of a sudden they see me and I'm 170 pounds. I'm tattooed.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Were
they shocked?
Yeah. Hell yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Right? Like the transformation, the metamorphosis from sick alcoholic to recovered-ish, right?
Right.
Ish.
Yeah.
Which is, I'll get into that too, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, and all of that happened and I ended up with 50% and, you know, they like, and now Jack's home from college. He stays with me most of the time, right? He's home from college. Madeline, I get 50% of the time. I'm not a stickler with the parenting plan. She'll stay 2 or 3 weeks with her mom and then come stay a week and a half with me or whatever. Like she's actually been traveling a lot. So she stayed with her mom for a month. So now she's going to stay with me for 2 weeks. Okay. Right. So like, I try to be as much as a co-parenting parent as I can, considering that I cannot talk to their mother.
Right.
Right. So I try to like.
How do you do that then? just like
We
kind
just
of through the
don't.
kids?
We
Because
just
they're,
don't.
yeah,
Like if things are really important and they need to be said, like, we'll talk through the kids, which I don't agree with. I
Right.
do not agree with, but what choice do I have?
right.
You know, I really don't have a
I'm
choice.
surprised they didn't let you do. I don't know if they do that here in Tennessee, but you know where they have like court monitored communications.
There's a thing called the Family Wizard app.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which they do, but she wasn't okay with that.
Oh,
You know, like,
okay.
and again, this is her journey,
Right,
right? You know, she wasn't innocent in all of it. She wasn't.
right.
And I know that. But that
I'm sure she knows that too. You know.
I'm deep, absolutely, deep down,
Mhm.
absolutely. But her journey to healing is none of my business.
Right.
It really isn't, right?
Mhm.
Like the guy that she had an affair with, she's still with, right? She seems to be happy, right? Like, I'm sorry that our marriage ended the way it did. I'm sorry for the things that happened in the marriage the way it did. But
Right.
we are both living our best life today.
Right.
Like, we really are. And my journey in recovery has been amazing, right? There's been some ups and downs, and I say all the time that if I did a biography about my recovery, it would be called Some Do It Ugly, right? Because I've made mistakes in
Right.
recovery, right? And especially when it comes to women in recovery, right? Like
Okay.
I've made mistakes. I really have. And you know, we talk about the judge, right? And why he was such a stickler, why he was driving home the fact about the mental health. So I decided at about a year and a half sober that I was just going to go to this random meeting, right? And I did. I went to this random meeting, right? And I'm sitting in this meeting and I'm sitting there and I'm listening, like, okay, I see a few familiar faces, you know?
Mhm.
And I turn around and I look, and the judge is sitting behind me.
Stop.
Yes, he is sitting in the rooms of AA. He is a recovering alcoholic, however you want to.
Wow.
Yes, right. I had an opportunity to go up to him after that meeting and tell him, and I was like, I just want to tell you that I'm sorry that I put you in a position to decide another human being's fate, right? And I really am sorry, and I just, you know, I love my life today, and I owe part of that journey to you, right? And he hugged me and he grabbed me and he said, I never could tell you this in there. And he goes, Charlie, I'm proud of you.
Oh.
And I wept.
I bet.
I wept. And here's the second half of that story is that right at a little after 3 years sober, I was asked to go to that meeting and share my story, right? And I'm there on a Saturday morning, and I'm good at telling my story, you know, like I really am. I'm pretty good at like public speaking, and I get choked up every once in a while, but I'm pretty good at it. But so I'm telling my story, and I tell the judge story. I'm like, you know, this, you know, I was here, I see the judge, and everybody starts laughing, and they're still in mid laugh when all of a sudden the door comes open, and the judge comes walking in. And everybody turns around and looks at him, and then they just bust up laughing.
And they knew he was
yeah,
a judge and
absolutely.
everything?
They knew exactly what I was talking about. And I was like, that's funny. I was just talking about you.
Right.
And he acknowledged, he knows who I am, and he acknowledges it, and he sits down, and I go and I tell my story, and I tell my story just like I've told it to you, and it's just like I tell it all the time, you know, and I acknowledge my parts and things, and I tell my journey, and I tell them that my life today is absolutely miraculous and filled with love, and you know, and at the end of it, there's a few minutes left. The way they structured this meeting is there are a few minutes left for people to actually come up and say, you know, great job, and share your whatever. But he gets up, he walks up there, and he introduces himself, and he goes, I just want to tell my side of things, right? And he tells his side of why he decided that I wasn't going to get a diversion, and all of that, right? And at the end of the day, it was that he knew that I would be okay, you know, that the decision was not going to impact me in the future. And at the end of it, we hugged, and you know, and what an amazing story, right? And Kelly from the BIP class, right, who I developed an amazing relationship with. She's in charge. She's also part of or somehow involved with the women's battered home in Williamson County,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So I knew this. So I donate to them, right? Like every Thanksgiving, I take, several $100s in Starbucks cards there
Right.
because they have their kids there.
Yeah.
These women have their kids there, right? These
know.
kids are like, it's the holidays,
Yeah.
right? Like get them some sweet treats and right. And like, so I donate and I developed a relationship with Kelly, right? Guess what Kelly's job is now? She's the supervisor of the probation department.
Oh God.
Right? Right? She likes me. They have to come into my house every once in a while, right?
Right.
They're easy on me because they know I'm doing the deal and that I'm a good guy. She comes into my house. Well, she pulls in my driveway yesterday and she runs out like she's seeing an old friend and hugs me, just bear hugs me. She comes in my house, she takes off her bulletproof vest, takes off her gun belt, and I'm like, Kelly, I don't think you're supposed to be doing that.
Right.
And she was like, if you were going to kill me, you would have did it in the classroom. And anyway, so that's what an amazing life this is, right? Like, where else is shit like that going to happen? And where else can I see the beauty in it?
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Look, recovery for me has been, I always say it like this. When I was actively using, my world was dark with just moments of happiness that would poke through, right? Today, my world is light with just moments of darkness, right? Because the saying that you can't have the sweet without the bitter, right? Not every day can be a 7 or an 8, right? Like I'm still gonna get sad, right? I've made mistakes in recovery. And every time it's a female, it's a woman, right? Like I got a year sober and I'm like, okay, like I'm available. Let's start dating. Right. And I messed up, right? I thought I was ready and I wasn't, right? And I made a mess of that relationship, right? I just came out of a very long marriage, right? I had not processed. I had processed the child trauma, right? But I hadn't done anything about the new trauma, right? So the fear of rejection, the fear of trust, and like so I hadn't, right? So I made a mess of that relationship. Lesson learned, right? I came out of it and was like, fuck, I'm nowhere near ready to start dating, right? So I stopped. Right, I stopped dating, dove headfirst back into the program, started sponsoring people, started doing H&I, started going out, like just going to all, like I went to Founders Day in Ohio, like I just dove headfirst and like, and got about 3 years sober and was like, oh, and I wasn't actively seeking anybody, right? And one of my best friends in the program, who we got sober together, right? She's got a little bit more time than I do. She started pursuing me, right? And I just like, I don't know, I'm good, right? Like I'm racing motorcycles, I'm good, right? My life's fantastic. Yeah. And she pursued even harder, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a God thing, right? Like maybe this is what it's all for, right? Which I still haven't got to that point yet. Like, what's it all for, right? And we started dating, and hurt people, right? Yes. So we both have had our fair share of traumas, right? So it broke my heart. She was one of my best friends, right? And it broke my heart. And it was right after I did your first podcast. Oh. Right? And I said, when I said in here that, maybe everything that happened was sort of a God thing, because, these last several months have been rough for me. Like I literally went from not seeing God, not caring if he was in my life anymore, right? Not understanding any of the things that was going on, to just downright hating AA and recovery, right? Like I was in a weird place. I really was. I hadn't been there before, right?
Okay.
And I have these people and I have these sayings, and we all have sayings inside of recovery. And some sayings help other people more than others. And one of the things that has helped me so much in recovery is that we just don't drink no matter what. Right. And I don't know why that one has always stuck with me, but we just don't drink no matter what. Right. And at the end of the day, whatever's going on in my life, I'm allowed. See, part of the problem with newcomers is that they don't think that they're allowed to feel like shit. Right. They come in the rooms and they feel like shit, and they're depressed and they're sad and they're hurt. And they don't understand that that's part of the process.
Part of the process.
You
Right.
just have to sit in it.
Right.
Right? Like it hurts and it's uncomfortable for us. But the growth that comes on the other side of that, of setting in the
Right.
pain, right? Dissecting the pain, understanding it, that is part of the growth, right? So we just don't drink no matter what. So I'm sad, I'm hurt, I'm depressed, I'm heartbroken, right? But I came through it, and we get a little stronger every time, right? So, and now here I am, and I look at my life, and I love my life today, right? I love the world I'm in. I genuinely believe that I have two passions. One is racing motorcycles, and then the other one is recovery. And I believe one saves lives, and you can figure out which one that is. And I take them both. I take recovery very seriously, right? So, I think about my journey to what's led me here and everything it took. And it's funny, because I have went through tremendous pains in my childhood and in my adult life, and I've hurt on so many levels, but it takes what it takes to get us here. Right. And my journey could not have been any different anywhere else for me to get this.
Right.
Right. And that's the miracle of it all. Right. So when I say God today, I think that I have a good understanding. Right. And today it's changed. My God today is love. Right. It's a cosmic energy of goodness. Right. I truly, truly believe that if we put out good energy, we receive good energy back. And it's not a perfect concept. Life still happens. You're going to get sad from time to time.
For sure.
But as a whole, the goodness that I am receiving from everybody around me is just, I don't even have the word to describe how wonderfully amazing it truly is, right? Like it really is. So.
Right. And you probably could have never imagined that even 3 years ago when you were in the thick of it and trying to, that this is even possible.
I shared last night in a meeting that I feel sometimes as if though I have a superpower, right? I know it sounds corny and cliche, but like I'm sharper than I've ever been. I'm in better physical shape than I've ever been. I've just never experienced life like this. Like everything, good feelings, like it's all just dialed to a 10, right? So for me, in order for me to understand real happiness is to understand that I have to experience it 100% alcohol and drug free, right? I don't like you hear people talk about California sober and all. Look, I don't have a dog in that fight. If you can maintain and you can be a productive member of society and you can, great, good for you. I don't have that luxury. Right. Anything I do that I do to take me outside of myself to change the way I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
is not good for me.
Right.
Right. So if you see me getting high on marijuana or whatever, watch out.
Right.
Watch out, because I'm burning Nashville to the ground.
Right.
Right. Because that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
I never, drugs, alcohol, it didn't matter. I never did anything in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. Right.
Right.
Like it just wasn't the way it was. So
Well, you know, even if it was just to simply smoke marijuana or something, or gummies, whatever it might be, that's a gateway for you. The rest is coming. Big time.
100%.
Yeah.
Anything, right? Like I
Right.
hear people talk all the time about this. They call it gas station heroin, kratom, they call it. And it's like, that's like, I'm just like, that's diabolical.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm just like, really? Like they sell that shit in gas stations?
Mm-hmm.
Like, damn.
I mean, even look at like the bath salts and everything, all that craziness.
I mean, the thing today is, like, back in the day, like cocaine, you'd wake up on a Monday morning and be like, it was a bad decision. Now you might not wake up on Monday.
Absolutely.
Like, I see these kids coming in and I'm just like, man, like
Russian roulette every single time.
It was life and death when I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now?
Right.
Wow. I mean, these kids brag about how many times they've been Narcaned. Like, I was in Target the other day. Like, I'm like, they sell Narcan on the counter.
They do?
Yeah. I was looking,
wow.
I was looking for like, I forget what it was I was looking for in the pharmacy area at Target. And I looked down and there's Narcan. And I'm like, it's gotten that bad.
Well, even like the addicts, in a lot of areas, they're known to like have one person that's semi-sober that doesn't take the heroin or whatever that might be that they're using. And they're like the lookout person with the Narcan to.
What a crazy world.
Yeah, that's been going on for a long time. Years.
Hey, I need you not to use tonight. I'll return. Right.
Yeah.
So if I die, you can.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kind of like, hey, like the designated driver,
Wow. That's insane to me. Yeah. Like,
and it's happening everywhere. This has been going on for years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad. Yeah. I remember I was in rehab with these young guys and they were bragging about how many times they'd been Narcan. Like, I've been Narcan 7 times. Like, I'm like,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So you're telling me you were that stupid to do it again and again and again and again.
Like, I mean, that is why I think that we will never really understand addiction. Right. We'll never really understand the mentality it is because it just keeps evolving.
Yeah.
Right. Can you, you think about like the 80s, and you would have transported, like, really? Right. But that's the way it is. Like the high keeps getting higher. Right. Like think about marijuana, for example. Right. Like marijuana back in the day, the level of THC was in this stuff was insane. Now there's marijuana's, 25, 30, 40, 50, 60% THC.
Right.
As a human species, it just keeps getting, we just keep upping the odds. And you got to wonder.
The drug dealers are getting smarter and more greedy and
100%.
Sticking whatever they want in there. Like 100%. It's just terrific.
When you're literally manufacturing stuff, it's like there's really the sky's the limit as far as like what they're able to do. It's insane. But that's my journey. I don't know that I have much more to say than that.
It's amazing. I'm glad that you came and we did part 2 finally.
I know, like it was so weird
because this was all the good stuff.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Like I thought about that, over the last couple of months. Like, why am I obsessed with this? But I felt.
But it's kind of cool that it took a little bit longer because more happened.
Well, it needed,
and things that you've overcome.
It needed to happen
since then,
right? Because if like I was not in a good place, and my message would have came across as that, right?
Right.
And I want the people out there to hear a message of love
Yeah.
and understand that if I can do this,
Right. Right.
anybody can do this.
Yeah.
You know, and I want people to understand if they see me in the meetings or they want to reach out to me, that I am a person of trust
Right.
and love and abundance, and I just want to help them from
Right.
one addict to another addict.
Right.
I want to help you, right? Because this journey is amazing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%. Like,
Such a good message, just all around.
yeah.
The ups, the downs, all of it. And you're
Yeah.
honest about it all. That's so important.
What choice do I have? You know,
Well,
like, well, no, I get
you
it. There
know.
is a choice. Like, I know several people inside the rooms that are, like, it's like, that's not what this is for me.
Right.
Right. Like, if you judge me based on the worst day of my life, great.
Right.
Good. I don't need you or want you
Right.
in my
Exactly.
life. Good for you. Good luck. Fantastic.
And people are always so quick to judge and be judgmental, and the good old
100%.
walk in the shoes. They just don't.
100%. And not only that, we've all had the worst day of our life,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
At least for me, I use it to help other human beings.
Right.
Right. So again, like, if you want to judge me for the worst day of my life, fantastic.
Go ahead.
I wish you the best.
Right.
I really do.
Right.
I'm going to continue to be happy.
Right.
Like,
Right. Right.
You go do you.
Yeah, and be positive and put that out there like that.
What an amazing life it is.
Yes.
Like, it really is. You know, like yesterday when I seen Kelly coming in the drive, like, I was genuinely excited to see her.
Yeah.
Who the hell gets excited to see the probation officer? You know, like,
right.
like,
Right.
I was genuinely excited to see her.
Oh.
You know, so what an amazing life.
Well, and all the relationships that have formed have been built over these years too. Like
100%.
her, you know.
Yeah. Well,
It's a
100%.
beautiful thing.
And, you know, like, and I said earlier, you know, I'm still in that sort of weird, like, what's it all for?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really genuinely feel that my what's it all for is coming. Right. And I'm not saying that it's a woman or whatever. I
Right.
don't know.
Right.
But I know it's out there.
Listen, I felt that way for 20 some years until now, till doing this. Like, why? Why did I go through all this? Why did I have to overcome so much? Why all the trauma? Why all the terrible things? Like, why? Like, what's it for? There has to be a purpose.
Yes.
And for me,
And do you feel that you found it in this?
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Just for people to, and I've said this 100 times now, to tell their stories, to share their experiences, because we all have different experiences.
Yes.
Could go through the same shit, have the same drug issues, whatever it might be, but we all have a different story, a different journey.
100%.
You know, and I just remember, you know, because mine goes all the way back to childhood, like you, and then trauma, like loss, all the things where for so long I always felt alone. Like no one would understand. No one's been through like what I've been through, and you know, I just want people to share so everybody knows. Like, no, like, you aren't as crazy as you think, and you aren't alone. Like, this stuff is happening to people all over,
Sure.
in so many different ways. So I just want people to feel that there are others to be relatable to.
I know for me that one of the most evil things about my using was when you said you don't know what I've been through, right? That was me.
Yep.
Right? Like, that was me. You don't know the
Same.
things I've been through. You didn't grow up the way that I did.
Right.
Right? And that was my little seed of what, like, I deserve this beer, right? Like, I deserve this drink, right?
Right.
Like, because you didn't grow up the way I did,
Right.
right? You didn't have the mother that I did.
Right. Exactly.
When,
yes.
When in reality, you know, like, there were a lot of people out there, you know, that grew up the way I did, that, you know, are probably still struggling. That it's
For
like,
sure.
if this podcast reaches one person out of 10,000,
Yes.
what a success.
Right.
right?
That's exactly how I feel about it.
And everything that happened to me, good and bad, led to this very moment right here.
Yes.
And I wouldn't change any of it,
Right.
right? Like, I'm sorry for the people I hurt.
For
I
sure.
really genuinely am.
Right.
But it took what it took for me to get here.
Yeah.
Right. And I really am. Like, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. And you don't play victim. Based on my time I've spent with you, you don't, it's real easy for us to feel like a victim.
100%.
But you don't play it anymore. Now you're like, I'm going to help people with what
Well,
I've
you
been
can
through.
either, that silly saying we say in recovery, you can either be a victim or a survivor. What are you going to choose to be?
Right.
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 Victim puts yourself up for failure.
Absolutely.
Right. Survivor. Right. Survivors. That's different, right? Like, we're fighters. We're survivors. We claw, we fight, we get knocked down, we get back up, right? We just don't use no matter what.
Right.
That's, yeah.
I like that. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
That's a good saying.
Yeah. No matter what. Because it's like, look, here's the thing. We get sad, right? And we're hurting. It really isn't going to be forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really isn't.
But when you're in it,
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it hurts.
It feels like it's never going to end.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But you come through the other side of it.
Like that whole, this too will pass. Ugh.
Oh,
that used to drive me insane.
It still drives me.
Yeah. I'm like, ew, just don't even say that.
Well, the thing is, when the thing in the rooms is when you're in a great mood. And you're like, oh man, woo, I feel great. And they're like, yeah, this too shall pass. It's like, oh, you ass.
Why are you trying to take that shit from
You
me?
asshole.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, okay, I get it.
Right.
I get it. But daggone, man, we got to celebrate our victories. Right? And that's not just people in recovery, that's life.
Right.
Right? Because we don't learn from success. We learn from failure, and that's how we gain success, right? Mm-hmm. So we got to celebrate those successes because we stomped through shit to get there. Right? Like, so absolutely, 100%. Yeah. So absolutely, celebrate your successes. You should.
Yes.
Right?
Some people don't know how to, and that's sad too, right?
It's just like taking a compliment.
Yeah.
Right? We people are such a weird bunch, right? Like, we hate, don't you fucking insult me. Right. Oh, you're the best person in the world. Stop. Shut up.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah. We did a constellation with a family member. She like runs constellation for constellation therapy. And this will always stick with me. This was probably 3 or 4 months ago, but somebody had said that was in the group, they're like, oh my God, like, your hair looks so good. I love your extensions and stuff, because I have extensions in and my hair's colored. And right away I was like, oh, well, yeah, they need redone. And like, she was like, you can't take a compliment. Yeah. Like, why don't you just say, thank you so much? No, I'm like, oh no, they're not that good. I need to get, you like pick it apart instead of just going, thank you.
Yes.
Because some of us don't know how to do that.
Yes.
Because of all the shit that happened, So I think that's so important to be. And the fact that she pointed that out, I was like, oh, shush. Like, I'm whatever. Like, I can take a compliment. I can take a compliment. But damn you, you're so right.
Yes.
Like, and I never realized how much I did that. Now I catch myself. Yes. Until she pointed that out. But now I catch myself a lot. Like, even with the podcast, people, oh, this is going to change so much and you're doing so much. Oh, well, we're just getting started. Oh, I should just be like, thank you. Instead of making every other excuse of why it's not perfect yet.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's so easy to fall in that trap.
Yeah. It's
something I need to work on.
Well, we all do. Right?
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yeah.
We are always a work in progress, or at least we should be.
Should be.
Yeah. Like, the funny thing about life is we ebb and flow, right? Like, I can still very much be a very cynical asshole, mm-hmm. Right? Like just because you get sober doesn't mean, right? Like, I'm getting better,
right?
But
It's always work.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%, you
Yeah.
know, but that's the life we live. So,
Well, I appreciate you sharing.
yeah,
This is good. This
I
is a
had
good
it like,
one.
this has been amazing.
I love this one. I love the part 2.
Yeah.
I love the part 1 because it's your story, but all the good and all the things that have happened and you've overcome and the realizations of different things is just awesome.
I think people should hear the first part and be like, oh shit,
Yeah.
and then hear the second part and be like,
Wow.
oh shit.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
like,
Yes.
like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. The first part is, it's me qualifying myself as a sick individual,
Right.
drug addict, alcoholic, and through that process and my journey to where I'm at. Right.
Right.
Like, that's the thing.
And what's been interesting with this too is, like, say you're part 1, there's a lot of shit that happened, right? You went
Yeah.
through a lot of shit, caused a lot of shit, did a lot of shit, so much was going on, and people can judge so easily based on just part 1
Yeah.
without hearing the rest.
Yeah. 100%.
But they'll make up stories, they'll make up their own thoughts of different things that have happened. We found this a lot on social media, obviously, from doing this stuff. But then there'll be a part 2 where I think people all the shitheads will be like, oh, well, I guess this is better. And he did do better. And rather than going, oh, I wonder how things turned out for this guy.
Yeah.
Or I wonder what he did. Like, I wonder what he did with his life, and just anything positive. Nothing positive comes out of people when they hear the story. For
100%.
not just yours, but anyone's, like when we do these. And then I just wonder if they ever go, probably not, because most of them are assholes when they do that. But like, wow, part 2. Holy shit.
Yeah. I wonder if there's
I'm
anybody.
kind of an asshole for thinking that.
I wonder if
about
there's
part
anybody
1.
out there. It's like just like cliffhanger. They're just waiting.
Yeah. Well, oh no, we get people all the time that they're even just with little clips that we post. They're like, we need part 2. We need part 3. We need, just go watch it. Go watch the episode, because people want to judge based on even a 2-minute
Oh
clip,
yeah.
you know?
100%.
They think they know the whole story.
Yeah.
Want to put their 2 cents into the whole thing over and over and over and over.
Well, that's just the world we live in, right? We
Yeah.
live in a world of 3 minutes, right? Like, it's insane to me right now. Like TikTok, Instagram Reels, the whole.
Yes.
Like, we live in a world of 3 minutes,
Right.
right? Like what you think you understand the world because you watched a few 3-minute videos, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
can we just,
Right.
like, it's like almost like politics in me, right? Like I used to care way too much, right? Like
Yeah.
it literally impacted my own serenity
Right.
and I'm like, what?
Because you're absorbing too much,
Like,
getting too into it. Yeah.
None of it matters.
Nope.
None of it matters. Like today, I focus on what I can control, what I can fix, what I like, the people I impact, and what can I do to make sure that today I left a positive note. Right. Like,
that's all you can do.
Did I help another human being?
Yeah.
Like that's my thing. Right.
Lord, if we could have a quarter of the people out there do that, a lot better place.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, my little bubble,
Yeah.
like that's what I can impact. That's all I can really care about today. The little changes that I can make. So.
Yes. And I think you're doing it.
I hope.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I love this.
Part 2's done.
Part 2's done.